Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome in. Brand new episode of Snaps here, youtube.com/@SnapsCFB _ welcome in. It is Thursday. Me and Aaron just wrapped up our third week one head-to-head, and once again, I got my ass kicked. This time, it was the Trojans, the men of Troy, kicking LSU's ass. Really, what was it, like a 28-0 lead, maybe, is what you jumped out to. Final score was what, 49-28, 49-21, something like that, 42. I can't remember. It was not good. Miller Moss was 7 touchdowns, which we'll talk about Miller Moss today, as there's a pretty interesting article on ESPN. Like, it's weird. Today's not a very newsy day, right? So it's very much let's play around and hypothetical. There's a couple pieces of news. We'll get to the Jim Harbaugh show cause. We'll get to a major injury for your Texas Longhorns. But it is kind of a list day. It's kind of a thinking day. And I think ESPN, Heather Dinich and Bill Connolly have a couple of interesting lists out there. Heather Dinich goes into 8 teams that have never made the playoffs that have pretty good odds of making their debut. And well, it's appropriate as it is 8-8, August 8th. And then Bill Connolly has the 25 most important players to the CFP, and he's broken them down into tiers. And it's kind of an interesting exercise. Just go down and react to it. Like instead of reacting to a video, reacting to an article. So that's what we're going to do on today's show. Make defense great again says, when is T and Aaron's college football 25 game? I don't know. We got to schedule it. It hadn't happened yet. We're going to play LSU USC eventually. Don't worry, guys. It's coming up here sometime soon.
When do you want to do the next game? When do you want to do the next game?
Definitely don't go look.
3-0.
Nuge is right. That third touchdown was fire.
It was pretty fire.
The third touchdown was fire.
Nice.
Look, we're nowhere to go but up, guys. We're only going to get better from here on out. Ryan Sadler team up with lose it at Don Juan Cigar Bar. If that was a real game result, Matt too. Thank goodness not. I know it, but it did kind of. So again, Miller Moss dominates that LSU defense.
Yep.
It did kind of play into fears that I have about the and then to fears that I have maybe about how this game could go, where if it does feel like maybe we're taking Miller Moss a little too much for granted. Lincoln Riley's one of the premier offensive minds. And when you think about, well, how does LSU improve? How does USC improve? We would say, well, defense, right? Well, they both have brand new defensive staffs. They both have defensive talent, to the point where USC is actually higher rated defensively than they are offensively in CFP 25 because, well, they have a bunch of good individuals. So it's hopefully that does not happen, but yes, whiskey and wine would be a complete shit show if that did. As always, guys, Andrew Cooper says LSU and USC are kind of the same team. There are some fascinating parallels between the two. God-awful defenses last year. Great offenses, both replacing Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks, both coaches going into year number 3. Two coaches
I feel better about LSU's offense than I do USC's offense, though. I think going to go pure, like, both defenses have to improve. Yes.
So,
I like Nussmeier offensive line.
So let's just jump into this, though, since we're here. This comes from Bill Connolly's piece in the 25 most impactful players to the CFP race. And he kind of did it in tiers, and he has a tier called spoiler quarterbacks. One of them, Miller Moss. He threw for 372 and 6 tuds of the bowl game. Now we know that maybe the quality of him were a little questionable, but who was he throwing to? Freshmen, Jacoby Lane, Zachariah Branch, Mekhi Lemon, Deuce Robinson, Carson Tabarachi. Well, who's all back this year as sophomores? That entire crew. So, that's a lot of time on task for that group to get an entire offseason together, another year of experience under their belt. And in terms of USC playing spoiler, they play Michigan, Penn State, LSU, and Notre Dame. So, again, I don't believe that SC will have the consistency to make the playoffs themselves in that Big Ten, but there's something there that, yes, Miller Moss could absolutely be one of the biggest spoiler quarterbacks in the entire country.
He has coached, last 3 quarterbacks he has coached have all won, besides Spencer Rattler at Oklahoma. The ones that he saw through their college career have all won a Heisman and been the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. So 3 of the last 4 have won a Heisman and been a first round pick or for number one pick in the NFL draft. So like I know from the naked eye, me watching Miller Moss for a game in which he threw 6 freaking touchdowns, I kind of look at him and say, okay, he's not Caleb. He's not, Baker. He's not Kyler Murray. But those guys are NFL number one picks in the NFL draft. Like, do you have to be that good to succeed in this offense with playmakers? No, like you don't have to be the number one pick to have success. Like maybe me personally am blowing this up out a little bit too much, saying he's not those guys, so this offense won't be good.
Yeah, look, I agree.
Max what a college quarterback could be and what an NFL quarterback could be. So he may be a damn good college quarterback. He just doesn't have the attributes to move on to the NFL and be an elite guy on that side. So he knows quarterbacks. I trust him. He put his eggs in the basket, obviously with not going into the portal, not getting anyone else, and kind of saying like Miller's going to be our guy heading into next season. So he sees something in him, and he's got a pretty damn good track record.
Yeah, Mac nails are right here. Catching Lincoln right out the gate worries me. Having the offseason to prepare, and Riley has to view this game as a must-win after all the noise. Yeah, I think it's kind of a must-win for both coaches, honestly.
Yeah.
For Lincoln Riley, it would quiet down everything, and it would be the prove it. We wouldn't be allowed to play the Mickey Mouse sound anymore. Mm-hmm. And for Brian Kelly, he has to avoid losing a third major season opener in a row, especially when he is viewed as having the better team and is favored by nearly a touchdown. So, look, week 1 is hurtling towards us, guys. Get excited. All right, let's dive into this idea of 8 teams that have never made the playoffs but have very good odds to make it, and kind of decide who we think is most likely to end up there at the end of the year. First on this list, it's pretty obvious. If you listen to any college football coverage or this show or any show, really, you know that the playoff seems like it was made for Penn State. They don't have to beat Ohio State and Michigan anymore, which they have not done, but they've done a really good job beating everybody else. So they just have to do that same thing, right? Beat everybody else. You avoid Oregon this season.
Yep.
Again, if you had Ohio State, Michigan, and Oregon on the schedule, I think we'd be questioning whether or not you were as much of a shoo-in as you felt. You have to take advantage of not playing the Ducks. That said, they do catch USC, UCLA, and Washington all this year, who they should be better than, but these are new teams with new styles. And, Penn State very much feels like a team made to kind of beat the dregs of the Big Ten. And so 3 games against teams that are coming with a different style, like, I think it's likely Penn State wins them. Yep. But I could see Jedd Fisch getting frisky for a game. Miller Moss, Lincoln Riley, we just talked about. I don't have much faith in UCLA, but still, I mean, it's like those are the potential trip ups here.
Well, you get 2 of them at home, and I think that's big. I mean, UCLA has to travel across the country, which I think UCLA is least of most teams' worries in the Big Ten. We talked about that the other day, of just like of all the new faces and new spots. UCLA is kind of the redheaded stepchild. Washington has to go from Washington across country to Penn State. The one big one is going to be at USC. And I think going back to our original conversation, if USC impresses week 1 versus LSU, I think a lot of eyeballs will be on that game on October 12th. Like, oh my goodness, Penn State has to go to USC. This could be a swing game for Penn State, but you get your big ones at home. I mean, the one at West Virginia, I think could still be a little bit iffy, but you always remind me what they beat their ass last year. You also get Ohio State at home. And I'm not out here saying they're going to beat Ohio State, but like getting your toughest game. Like if I'm Penn State,
you want your
and I look at the schedule,
obviously.
You never want to look ahead. You never want to get cocky, but like the one team that is somewhat on your level, a playoff caliber team, because there's not another playoff caliber team on this schedule, is Ohio State, and you get them at home. Can you get up for one game and maybe sneak out a win at home? I don't know. I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying, like, you look at the calendar and you just say, like, that is the big one that we can focus on. Like you said, you don't have to play Oregon. You don't got to play Michigan. Ohio State's the big one you circle. You're mute.
My bad. I muted my mic. Wait, Michigan's not even on the schedule this year for Penn State?
Nope.
Oh, I had that wrong. Okay. Wow. Yeah. So you got to take advantage. So you can even afford really maybe one slip up against one of those West Coast teams. So yeah, Penn State's looking like a shoe in here. Next on this list, Mizzou. And well, that's because Mizzou is actually favored in every single game except for the Alabama one. So like ESPN's FPI has them going 11-1. However, if they do lose two, and this is something that I'm fascinated to see this year, Aaron, we have a lot of teams that we believe are all in that kind of 10-2 range potentially. If you lose two, well, then we're going to look at things like strength of schedule. And maybe that's where Mizzou could get in trouble because their out of conference is garbage. It's Murray State, it's Buffalo, it's Boston College, it's UMass. So not really challenging themselves outside of the USC. So, or excuse me, out of the SEC. So like, when I look at Mizzou, I see a team that is very good, that is very well set up, but a bit, not the extent to which, but a bit of Michigan last year, where a poor out-of-conference schedule kind of doesn't allow them a lot of room for error outside of the Alabama game.
No, and I actually talked with I was in Bristol for the past couple of days and talked to Adazio, who was on the staff at A&M, and just talking about the roster. And he's like, dude, the roster's damn good. The offensive line's really good. He said the quarterback stays healthy. He's really good. Like what you alluded to talking to your boy about how good the Aggies could be. It's like that's one where if you win on the road versus A&M and A&M proves to be an 8-9 win team, that looks pretty good. But
that's true. That would be used for you in a 10-2 for sure.
But yeah, other than that, like the Oklahoma's a swing game. We've talked about, how Oklahoma could be that team that upsets a lot of teams this season with the amount of playoff caliber teams they play. But you have the quarterback, you have the best skilled player in the country, maybe one of the best skilled players in the country. You have a pretty damn talented offensive line. You have what you believe is better depth at the running back spot than you had last year. Maybe not the top tier guy, but better depth with a 1-2 punch. Defense will be the question mark, but the schedule lines up beautifully. I mean, to me, the two big games for them are at A&M and Oklahoma. Because I don't see them going to Alabama winning. So that's your 11-1 right there.
Yeah.
But the two toss-up games at A&M, Oklahoma at home, and the rest of them you should win.
And look, when you're talking about Mizzou, you got to mention Luther Burden.
Yeah.
He's number 22 on this 25 most important college football players, and he's in the section where it's just called pure transcendent potential. Here's and the reason why I love Connolly's piece here, the 25 players, is it's got a lot of interesting nuggets. Like, how about this? Luther Burden produced 65% of his yardage in the first 6 games. So yeah, he had moments down the stretch, as he points out. He got a 4th and 17 against Florida to beat Florida. He came up with a game-cleaning touchdown against Ohio State, but could he extend like what happened if he already averaged 9 catches and 132 yards a game? What if he had kept up that early season production? Just how insane can he be? And really, one of the reasons why they got away from him a little bit at the end of the year is they relied more and more on Cody Schrader. Yep. Yeah, they got Marcus Carroll, no more Corey Schrader. Like maybe they actually have to lean on Burden throughout the entirety of the season.
But the good thing about at least covering their spring game is they feel like they don't have to rely on Burden to go win every single game. Like they have gone back and they've watched tape. Like I'm not going to compare them to Alabama when Alabama had 3 or 4 first rounders at receiver. I'm not saying that, but like they've gone back to watch that tape and say, we have that kind of depth. We have skill very similar to that. And we have playmakers that we want to be able to spread the ball around. And we have a quarterback now that is a 3rd-year starter that has the maturity to go out there and not just focusing on Luther. I mean, this was kind of like, for me personally, my freshman year. I had AJ Green. I was a freshman quarterback. Guess what? Bubba said, throw the ball to AJ, throw the ball to AJ, throw the ball to AJ, throw the ball. And it was great. But there was times where I just threw the ball to AJ and he was double covered as an interception.
Yeah.
You have the experienced quarterback now that is not going to force Luther if there's a double team, and now also on top of that has the weapons to go out there and spread the wealth. So I think it all kind of plays together. So like, does Luther have the ability to have this incredible Heisman-esque type season? Yeah, he's incredibly talented, can play special teams as well, but they are going to spread the ball out. So don't say Luther has to get 8 catches per game, 100 yards from Missouri to continue to, be this playoff contender.
Next up of the 8 teams, Tennessee. Tennessee, of course, would have made it in 2022. I should mention Mizzou would have made it also last year. But to prove how bad it's been in Knoxville, that 2022 finish, that was their only top 20 finish in the playoff era. So it does remain the exception, not the rule. Now, I love this Tennessee offensive line with Mays there at center, and I'm a big believer in Lance Hurd, the big LSU transfer out there at tackle. I think the D-line with Amari Thomas and, of course, James Pierce is going to be insane. So, like, I think they have all the elements, right? But it does remain the exception, not the rule. Yeah. And they kind of have to walk a tightrope here as they play both Alabama and Georgia, and they got to go to Oklahoma. I'm still not to the point with Tennessee where I think they beat Alabama and Georgia, or not. Or I don't think they beat favorites. One of the two. No, I don't think they're going to beat either. Like Tennessee's going to have to prove it to me that we get to like them. It's and to be clear, Tennessee fans, don't like get mad at me because I say the same thing about LSU. Yeah, LSU beat Alabama 2 years ago in Baton Rouge. I don't expect them to beat Alabama this year. Tennessee beat Alabama 2 years ago in Knoxville. I don't expect them to beat Alabama this year.
But they've had some success the past 2 seasons. I mean, last year they were winning and we're feeling pretty frisky in the first half. I think they were up in the first half, weren't they?
Yeah, they
ended up throwing the ball away. Like, Joe couldn't complete a pass in the second half. So I'm not saying they got Alabama's number. Like, no one has had Alabama's number. Don't get me wrong. Even when Georgia thought they had Alabama's number, Alabama goes and beats them in the SEC championship game. But they have performed well the past 2 goes against Alabama.
Yeah,
winning
that's
one
fine.
And being in it last year. So, like, I still favor Alabama on the road there. I think we need to see what Alabama looks like. And I think we need to see what Nico looks like. But to your point, more likely 10-2, you have to win the other 10 games in order to get in. And is there another slip up there? 100%. Oklahoma, like you alluded to, could be a possible slip up. Other than that, I really don't see it.
No, I don't see it either, but it is still demanding perfection out of a school that this is like the level of expectation is way above the results that we've seen over the past 20 years. And I completely understand how we got to the expectation. It's a completely new era. Heupel's created a consistency there that hasn't been there. We like how all the pieces fit together. And you have a guy like James Pierce, who checks in at number 23 on Bill Connolly's list as a sophomore. So crazy. A 3-star, true sophomore who all of a sudden comes out and gets 10 sacks, 18 and a half tiffles. He had a 20. I actually said tickles earlier on my radio show. How about this though? He had a 20% pressure rate with over 200 pass rush snaps. That was third nationally. So 1/5 of the time he is getting in the quarterback's face. In fact, he was the most effective pass rusher in the entire country for havoc rate, which is tiffles, passes defended, forced fumbles. So again, as you can see, like they seem to have the pieces on paper. It's just Tennessee fighting against who they have been the last 20 years versus who we think they can be. And I still don't think they beat Alabama or Georgia. No. And so they got to be perfect otherwise. But here's another one of those fun facts here that Heather Dinich has in her piece. According to ESPN Stats and Info, in the first 10 years of the playoff, 23 of the 25 SEC teams to finish with 2 losses or fewer finished in the committee's top 10. Now, it does say 2 or fewer. So not necessarily 23 or 25 2-loss teams, but still the majority of the time 2 losses will get you in. Scott V says Tennessee's D-line is championship deep in talent. It all comes down to how good Nico is. Yeah. I mean, they
got offensive line, they got defensive line. I think they got playmakers on the outside. 100%, it's Nico. You lost one of your DBs the other day.
Like a lesser Ohio State. Yeah. And that they're a very complete team. It's just all questions about the quarterback, except you probably feel better about the ceiling of Nico versus the ceiling of Will Howard.
100%.
Next on this list, Kansas State. And this one's pretty easy, right? I mean, look, you win the Big 12 and you're in. In 2021, they had 3 losses, but they beat TCU in the Big 12 championship in this setting. In this current playoff system, they would have been in. So, like, for Chris Kleiman and company, and this is the same thing that we'll talk about when we get to Utah as well, you finally control your own destiny.
Yep.
I mean, actually, let's just combine Utah here because they're also on this list. Utah won the Pac-12 in 21 and 22.
Mm-hmm.
They would have made it. They did not because the playoff committee said you're not worthy. And really nobody pushed back against it, which I understand why. So the point is, for teams like Kansas State, Utah, finally the days of this being a beauty pageant are over. And now you actually have the ability to control your own destiny.
I like the quarterback. Obviously, Will Howard's gone. Avery's there. I thought Avery played well last year. They bring back a 1,200-yard rusher at the running back position. I still would favor Utah a little bit because I like Cam Rising just a tad bit more, a little bit more experience, even though he missed all last year with an injury. So I would put, if I had to pick my Big 12 champ, kind of that automatic team to get in there, I would still lean more towards Utah. The culture, love their head coach, love their quarterback.
For what it's worth, Kansas actually, I think, is like, according to the computers, Kansas is actually slight favorites to win the Big 12, even over Kansas State. I think Kansas State is included in this list because they've won the Big 12 recently, right? Yeah. And so they would, whereas Kansas has been good and getting really way better, but has not yet climbed the mountaintop a la Utah. And that's why I like Utah. A la Kansas State. And that's why Utah's here as well, because they won their conference. How about this? Since 2014, 60 college football playoff rankings have been released. Utah's been ranked in 44 of them. That is the most for a team without a playoff appearance. So like this, we talk about this being made for Penn State in a weird way. This was also kind of made for Utah, right? They could finally get that monkey off their back and force their way into this thing. However, the Big 12 remains like so top to bottom close that I think you have to win it. Like, do you see a world where two Big 12 teams get in?
No, I just think the national perspective is just not there for them, unfortunately, especially if the ACC has a good year.
You think, though? I mean, wait, so what if you had like a 2-loss like Big 12 team, like a team that lost one game in the regular season, and then let's say they lose in the Big 12 championship?
So if they're 11-2 is different than 10-2.
Yeah, so let's say you're 11-2. Like you're probably
you're 11-1 heading in. I think that would be very different.
I think the bigger problem isn't the perception of the Big 12. It's that I think it will cannibalize itself.
Yes.
I don't see a team going 11-1.
And there's another team in the Big 12 that we aren't talking enough about, and I think a little bit has to do with their quarterback and Alan Bowman is Oklahoma State. I mean, you return maybe the best running back in the country. You return, I believe it's around 19 starters combined on both sides of the football. It's like there's a lot of returning production for a football team that went 10-4 last year.
I agree.
I mean, like, if you want to talk about top to bottom talent in that conference, might consider them the most talented roster in the conference. So,
I mean, the Big 12 has had 4 different teams win it the last 4 years.
Yep.
Like, see how far Baylor's fallen from when they were beating Oklahoma State barely in the Big 12 championship. In a conference that featured both Oklahoma and Texas. Crazy to think about.
I think there's just too many teams that can win it. I mean, you could make a case.
That's what I would say. Like, how many teams could realistically win it? Definitely Utah, definitely Kansas, definitely Kansas State, definitely Oklahoma State.
I mean, you can talk about West Virginia 9-3.
So I would have Arizona and West Virginia right underneath.
Yes.
I would have them. I would have the Big 4 unless I'm missing someone. I feel like there's a Big 4.
I think there's a lot of energy for Texas Tech this year too.
There was last year too, and I feel like we got burned by it. So I'm not going to hop on the Red Raider bandwagon. Although they gave out Oregon quite the fight at the beginning of the year. Andrew Cooper says UCF going to be good. There is some UCF energy building. I'm not there.
I'm with you. I think there's a cannibalization of that conference where you're just going to have too many. It was like this last year too. Like, there will be more exciting games in this conference than any other conference in America. Like, this will produce incredible games.
Yeah, like there's
you're not going to get a lot of ranked games because they're just going to be a bunch of 8-4 teams, 9-3 teams, and that's just not going to be good enough to get 2 teams in, unfortunately.
I do agree that KJ Jefferson seems like a great Gus Malzahn quarterback.
Huge pickup for them. Huge pickup.
So maybe you put UCF in that category with your West Virginia and your Arizona.
Yep.
Where it's like They might not be favorites, but we could see them win it. Like in the SEC, how many teams could you see winning the conference? 2, 3, probably the big 3.
The big
right?
3. That's it.
Yeah, the big
Georgia,
3.
Bama, Texas.
Yeah. And then it feels like the next tier, they're no threat to win it. They're just trying to make the playoffs.
Yep.
They're
trying to go 10-2 and not make it to Atlanta so that they get in.
Yeah, exactly. Next on this list, let's dive into Ole Miss. Because here's something that you probably haven't stopped and thought about, but it's true. In a 12-team playoff, Ole Miss would have made it in both 21 and 23.
Yep.
There are not many teams that could say that. In a 12-team playoff, the Ole Miss Rebels would have made the playoffs 2 of the last 3 years. Take a bow, Lane Kiffin. And now you have no Alabama on the schedule. The West is done. You get UGA and Oklahoma at home.
Yep.
Going to LSU on the 12th is very sketchy. But, like, it's weird to think you already would have made it 2 of the past 3 years. So it's like, well, then you have to make it this year. This is the best team you've had yet, and a pretty friendly schedule.
Yeah. Them and Penn State is why we put the thumbnail as it is. I mean, those are the 2 teams that have made it the past year, right? That Penn State too would have made it the past 2 seasons as well. Like,
I believe so. Yeah.
Yes, they would have made it as well. Like, these are the 2 teams that the playoffs, as we've talked about, were made for teams like this. And this is probably Lane's best team of the past 3 years, honestly. I mean, I know you lose Juckins, but your receiving depth is probably the best in the SEC. You have a quarterback that's going to be a Heisman caliber guy. Hopefully the offense line's retooled and better. The defense should be the best it's been in 3 years. The schedule's super easy. So yeah, like, you should be 10-2. Go out there and do it now. Go out there and do it.
Next on this list, they got Louisville. And the reason why I think it's Louisville out of the AC is, again, these are teams that have not made the playoffs. I do not think
playoffs.
What's that?
Has Miami made the playoffs?
No, I just don't think they have any faith in Miami. Or maybe Heather doesn't. I do.
I am,
because we all about the U. We about Coach O. We about Cam Ward. I mean, that's the best NCAA 25 game I had against.
I feel like Miami is a team that's going to burn me this year.
Restrepo.
I really feel like Miami is going to be a team that burns me this year.
You look like you fucking love Miami. You look like you're from Miami.
My family is from Miami.
Exactly. They have Louisville on this list. Again, we said at the beginning of this, at the end, we would kind of choose who we think out of the 8 is realistic. I don't think it's realistic.
No.
For Louisville, at Clemson, at Notre Dame, they'd probably need to win one of those.
I mean, they got to go at Kentucky to finish the season off too.
Yeah, and they keep losing at Kentucky even when they're good at Kentucky shit.
The big one is the middle of the season, Miami. They got to go on the road to Miami. And we've talked about Miami's schedule not being crazy difficult. Like, that's going to be a big one for those 2 teams of who could challenge Florida State to possibly be in that big
Murder
guy.
Giraffe says FSU isn't on the list. No, again, guys, sorry if the setup. Hey, Maddox, what's up, dog?
Hi,
what's up, Maddox?
Say
What's
hi,
happening,
everyone.
dog?
Who's going to win, Miami or Florida? Miami or Florida?
Who's Florida?
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Yeah.
That's a Georgia boy right there for you.
Who's Florida?
Go get mommy.
What's he chewing on?
Probably Starburst.
Maddox, what are you chewing on? Ooh, hell
My
yeah.
camera likes Maddox. He's following him around.
Look at that putting green right by Aaron's little desk.
The putting has been good lately.
And
boys.
the microphone on the 2 books. That's excellent.
Let me get this figured
No,
out.
so okay, sorry guys. This list is the eight teams that have not made it. That was a really good answer by Maddox, by the way.
That was phenomenal. I need to clip that out and post it.
Yeah, I agree. These are 8 teams that have not made it that have good chances too. So this is not who's most likely out of everybody. But that's what's crazy is, like, some of these teams feel like they should have, but they haven't up to this point. Louisville, no. They have Boise State on this list.
It's like, 5, you got to get one.
No, I know, but, like, isn't UTSA better? And they've never made it. Tulane gets John Sumrall at a time when they're pretty damn good. By the way, Kansas State has to go at Tulane. Remember that Tulane games that pushed them to 3 losses a couple of years ago. Liberty is a team that you probably have talked about here. The problem for Liberty, I didn't realize this. Liberty does not play a single Power 4 opponent. They had the worst schedule in the FBS.
What about your Navy shipmen?
What about them? I'm not very high on Navy right now.
Okay.
But I mean, honestly, it's not on them. It's on me. I'm terrible at the game. I mean, do you think Navy's going to win the AAC?
No, just you've been playing with them, so I didn't know if there was any juice there.
It is fun to play with, but no, I don't think so. The thing about Liberty, though, is that schedule's going to, I think, come back to bite them in the ass. I think the committee's going to want to honor a team who really challenges themselves. I know now, granted, fuck me, last year they didn't. They put Liberty in the group of 6 as the group of 5 team. But Boise does play Oregon State, and Wazoo. You're not beating Oregon, okay? But what if you beat Oregon State and Washington State? You might even not have to be perfect in conference. So, like, that's kind of the argument for Boise, is that because of their schedule, maybe that launches them in there.
Good
But
chance.
I didn't think Boise was any good last year, and I don't see why they're going to be much better this year.
And without
Watch out for SMU, says Scott Dice. Yeah, that is true. But SMU
is
now
an ACC team
in the ACC, so not group of 5. But they do have a very easy schedule. I just don't think they'd win like an ACC championship potentially. And then finally, we mentioned Utah. So, okay, Aaron, out of these teams that we talked about, tell me if they're actually in and out or seasons in. Penn State.
in,
Mizzou.
out,
Tennessee. It's out.
out.
It's out. Bro, there's really only room for the big 3 in Ole Miss to make the playoffs.
There
if
is
that.
Unfortunately. Yep.
Kansas State.
Out,
Louisville.
out,
Ole Miss.
in,
Boise.
out,
Utah.
in.
Okay, so I'm in agreement with you. So Utah, Ole Miss, Penn State. And what'd you say on Kansas State?
No.
No. Okay, yeah. So out of the 8, that's it. That's it. News Juice says you take Ole Miss over Mizzou based on schedule. I think Ole Miss is a more complete team.
Yeah.
I think again they would have made it 2 of the last 3 years. I
would take Tennessee over. I would take Tennessee over Missouri. I think Tennessee is the next one out over Missouri, or next one in over Missouri.
With Alabama and Georgia on the schedule.
I know.
I think I like Mizzou over Tennessee because of that. It just feels like Tennessee almost has 2 guaranteed losses to me. But maybe I'm not giving them enough credit. Like if they that's just up to Tennessee to prove they are really bad.
I think they're more. I think if Nico's as good as we think he could
teams.
be, I think their roster's better.
Scott Dice says which teams? Yeah, the roster's really better than what? Better than last year? Better than what?
Better than Missouri's.
Oh, yeah, probably. I mean, you don't have the weapons. Mizzou probably has the best wide receiver room in the country, maybe. But you got pretty good weapons.
Yeah, pretty good weapons.
Mizzou definitely doesn't have anybody like Pierce, Mark
They don't
Thomas.
have the defense. They don't have the defense.
Yeah,
I think they're the more complete team on both sides.
You're probably right. Which teams y'all have making the college football player from the SEC? Again, I'm kind of chalky here. I think Georgia, Texas, Alabama, and then Ole Miss. The big 3, and then I think Ole Miss emerges out of the rest. What if Nico is him? If Nico is him, then he beats Alabama, right?
Yeah. What's a legend Georgia coming in as the $8 million man year 1? You beat Alabama at home. You are legend at that point. Because you beat Alabama at home, you're a playoff team.
Did you guys see what Sonny Dykes said about sign stealing? No, I'll look that up right now. Let's see here. And then we'll move on to the Jim Harbaugh. Actually, that's the perfect bridge to move on to Jim Harbaugh. He said, I think we started to, Sonny Dykes, TCU's head coach, I think we started to hear it more and more and started to dive into it a little bit. It seemed pretty obvious maybe there's something going on. I think sign stealing is pretty common, but Michigan seemed to escalate it to another level. We made changes, nothing dramatic, but enough to protect our offensive defense from them. I think it certainly helped us, and I don't think we would be able to win that game had we not gotten some of that information. So that is pretty interesting because that is a, sitting head coach basically saying he feels like a key part of them winning was avoiding Michigan sign stealing. But again, it actually kind of reinforces my belief that this is all just, or my, it may not be a nothing burger legally or rules wise. I don't give a fuck about it because if that's the case, Well, no. I'm saying if that's the case, like, okay, yes, it did impact games, but they got caught in the middle of the year and they couldn't do it for the rest of the year. And they didn't even have their head coach for all their biggest games. And they still beat Penn State, Ohio State. They still won the playoffs, won the Natty. So it
doesn't matter.
You still did it without it. All right. Speaking of, though, the NCAA has given Jim Harbaugh a 4-year show cause and a 1-year suspension. So a show cause works as if a team would want to hire Jim Harbaugh. They would have to explain to the NCAA why, and then he still would not be able to be involved in a lot of different events and whatnot. The show cause runs through August 6, 2028. How about it? Jim's in trouble.
Damn it, Jim. You can't coach college football for the next 4 years. This is just...
as he sits on an $80 million contract to be the Chargers head coach.
We had the NCAA president come and speak to us the other day, which I thought he actually spoke pretty well at the conference.
Charlie Baker,
baby, politician. But there's just such a feeling of who is the one truly controlling college football. Is it the athletic director, the commissioners? Is it the playoff committee? Just the NCAA has no teeth. And it's just another example of the fact, like, you're going to do the suspension that means absolutely nothing. It means nothing. To me, it makes you look silly.
Locke Hesse says it really feels like getting a parking ticket that you have to pay to graduate from school you don't go to. The difference is you don't have to pay. You've already graduated.
Yeah.
Like, I think so. I like how Harbaugh's lawyer, Tom Mars, said it. I think he said it best. He said, quote, "The way I see it, from Coach Harbaugh's perspective, today's decision is like being in college and getting a letter from your high school saying you've been suspended because you didn't sign your yearbook. If I were Coach Harbaugh's shoes and had an $80 million contract as head coach of the Chargers, I would not pay any attention to the findings of a kangaroo court, which claims to represent the principles of the nation's most flagrant repeat violator of federal antitrust laws."
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So good. So good.
Max says Harbaugh gets praised, but the Astros got slaughtered, doing literally the exact same thing in terms of like something that a lot of teams doing it, but taking it to another level. I agree. I think it would be much messier again had we figured out after last year's national championship.
Yes.
It's not nearly as messy to me because they got caught in the middle and they proved themselves afterwards. But I feel you. Like,
Astros won it. Yep.
Yeah, they won it with the trash cans, right? Yes. Like that's to me the key difference.
Michigan won it because they were the better football teams, the better talent with a better coach.
Yeah.
That point. And for half the season without a coach. So, this is sure gave everyone in LA that cares about football a little bit chuckle as he's raking in the money right now.
Yeah. Like Tex Rock says, that's like getting a speeding ticket in Canada when I knew I was never going back to Canada. I did that in Arkansas one time. And then I got pulled over like 2 years later in South Louisiana. And this motherfucker was threatening to deport me to Arkansas. He was literally threatening to like bring me to jail in Arkansas. I'm like, bitch, what the
question.
Fuck are we talking about?
Ass snaps. Does T-Bob need to steal signs in NCAA 25 EA Sports to compete?
You know, look, nobody's going to see it, but the box score, we just got to finish drives. I had more yards, more first downs. I just had too many. I was awful on third down. That was the biggest difference in the box score. I finished like 3 of 8 maybe, and Aaron was 5 of 5 on third downs, completely locked in. Just
money down, baby.
Downs.
Money down.
Yeah, I agree.
Money down.
I'm just saying, like,
I want to go right now. Do you want to stream after this? I want to play you again. I
don't want to stream another one because I still don't like right now. Like, I think if we stream right before the show, I think that actually does affect the numbers. I don't think YouTube likes back-to-back live streams.
Probably not.
I think if we did it on a different day, I don't think it affects the numbers. I'll play you again right now, bitch. I got about an hour after this until I got to pick up my kids from school. All right. Yeah, exactly. I just gotta stay in the lab. Adam says he needs to get in the lab and learn how to read defense. I'm learning how to read defense. I'm just not there yet. I'm at like a first grade reading level. And that's fine because a couple of weeks ago I couldn't read. So now we're trying to get to third, fourth, fifth, et cetera, et cetera. Avo says stream it. Fuck it, dude. I'll go again. Start a new stream and do it. All right, we'll see.
Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow.
I could do tomorrow.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, bitch. So I thought. Texas, you're scared. Fucking running scared, boys. You see him?
3-0. 3-0.
I got him right where I want him. The classic 3-0 lead.
Oh,
you know, you heard of Big Poppy? Call me Big Bobby because I'm gonna fucking come back from 3-0 and win this thing.
All right.
I don't think y'all get it though. Y'all think it's hard playing against your skill level online. Like Aaron is an actual quarterback who does know coverages inside and out and knows exactly the route combinations to attack them with. And uses that Georgia playbook exclusively, so he's very familiar with it, which is not an advantage over me because I've tried to find about 4 or 5 plays in the No, I don't use the same playbook, but when I play with LSU,
find a playbook. You
but I practiced with LSU the most. I think that's a viable strategy. I don't think you're shit for not doing it, but it's not what I want to do. I want to play like if I play Navy, I want to play Navy. If I play WU, I want to play WU. But I don't think it's bullshit by you or anything.
No.
T-Bob's like Kirby, just takes 5 or 6 tries to beat Saban. Exactly, guys. Exactly. All these Georgia fans say Kirby's better. David Pollock sitting up there. Yo, he's the new king of college football when he's beating him like once. Exactly. That's going to be me. I'm going to beat Aaron one time and I'll be talking so much fucking shit.
Well, the good thing is I get to play with Georgia next game, so I get their playbook, so it's all good.
Well, should we save if we play again today? We shouldn't do Georgia Clemson. We should we should save it. Call me T Pollock, guys, if I ever win a game. Have y'all played with Tennessee yet? No, and I wanted to.
I want to try. I'm a little bit nervous just to start a game with that playbook and not know. I don't know how to do RPOs really well yet.
You know what I'm not looking forward to? Fucking buying a new fucking controller. God damn it. How expensive are controllers?
I don't know, but better than getting your ass whooped because your middle linebacker is running through the end zone.
Stupid ass shit. So Texas, tough blow for the Longhorns as CJ Baxter injures his knee at practice, now out for the season. He was the likely starter this season. Now, Jaden Blue's good. Jaden Blue also played last year, but CJ Baxter was supposed to be the guy. You never want to lose RB1. It puts more pressure on everyone. They also have another cat, Trey Wisner, who played last year. They got Jarrett Gibson, who's the number 2 running back in the country last year, top 60 prospect overall. Yep. So like, what I would say is this. I don't think it's nearly as impactful as Notre Dame losing their left tackle again. You weren't here for that, Aaron. So Notre Dame lost their left tackle for the season, torn pec. Now he was supposed to be a true sophomore, right? It was going to be his first year really starting, but he was supposed to be the next big thing. In fact, they're having an open competition at right tackle. They never even had a comp at left tackle. So now Notre Dame has to go to College Station week 1, 2 brand new tackles against that front 7 with a new quarterback, new OC, and the head coach of the other team is an elite defensive coordinator who knows the quarterback inside and out. Bro, A&M now favored by 1 point, according to Vegas.
Let me put some money on that one.
I'm thinking a little A&M money line.
I am definitely thinking a little A&M money line. I think the only problem going back to Texas right now, at that position, that is a very physical position already. You lose one, you're young behind them. What happens if you lose another one? And then another one? They lost their top running back last year. Jonathan Brooks got hurt at the end of the season too. So like, you got the veteran quarterback, you got great skill, you have one of the best offensive lines in the country. It's all great. But it just, you hate when it happens this early because then it just takes one more to really derail that part of your offense. So that's always the worry now.
I think But
it doesn't change my overall perspective of like Texas's offense or what I think of Texas heading into the season.
No, I agree.
I would change if something happened to Blue or something happened to another guy. Then it's like, oh, okay, now we're starting to get a little bit too deep in the depth chart here.
Sean says Texas losing week 2, Michigan money line. I'm not opposed to that, dude. I'm not opposed to that.
Bitch.
I might sprinkle a little Michigan money line simply because on the road against that defense, that culture against Texas culture, I still think I like Michigan maybe there. I think that's
going to be a game where we look back and say like Michigan was built for that season to win a championship, and obviously they had good years before that, no doubt about it. Winning the Big Ten, but like
you might be right.
I think that's when a lot of eyes will be open, like, oh shit, they have fallen.
I think you might be right. You might be right. I think though that like that's a money line play where it's not like I expect to win, but I like enough of the potential value where let's just throw some money at it and see and see what happens. Sark will be deep. What about Rod Moore from Michigan getting hurt? I haven't seen this. Look this up.
All right. Well, if anyone needs anything else to watch the rest of the afternoon, go watch the stream. Just cut through the first 5 minutes.
So you want to commit to it or no? Oh, you're saying no. Go watch the stream that we just did.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? Are we playing next or not?
No, I got to go put Maddox to sleep.
See, guys, this is that shit I'm talking about, man. This is that fucking bullshit. He's afraid to lose. Rod Moore, Torres, ACL.
Beat you by
okay, that's a bad blow. That's a bad blow. What? So what? That's one game. Doesn't matter if you lose 100 or 0-0. It's still only one win.
Next game.
Look, T. Pollock's coming back. Where's Aaron's wife? I'll tell her to. She's back at my house. I'll tell her to head back over. After no, I'm kidding. I'm in Baton Rouge, guys.
Don't worry. I'll send your mom back over to your house too.
Never forget, bitch. I was in that vagina first. Okay. So you're just an invader on foreign lands. That's my home, dog. Okay. I grew up in that bit. Literally.
Yeah. Avo, the problem is Maddox isn't tired and mama's got to work. So like I need to go entertain him until he starts school again next week.
Oh, thank God. First day of school for me today.
Oh God.
How about that?
Tuesday.
Yeah.
And it's all half days for the entire first week back.
All for the entire week?
Tuesday, Wednesday,
I mean,
Thursday.
Come on, bro. One half day. It's kind of annoying, though. At a certain point, a half day is like more bullshit than just like a regular day, like timing-wise.
I drop him off at like 8:30. I have to be back at like 11 to pick him up.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what are we going to do? I'm going to go buy groceries?
Yeah.
So I feel you there. Shout out to all the teachers out there, man. Thank you for all you do.
Yep.
Thank you for taking care of our kids. Best of luck. Cause like, I don't know how you do it. Cause, I understand if you're someone who has to work 24/7, you get to see your kids. That summer is probably awesome, but I see my kids a lot and I'm very fulfilled. It makes me very happy. Summer, by the end of summer, every year, me and my wife are realizing like, she's dead.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm dead. And everybody's just like,
we're just like, please go back to school. Go back to school.
I think Drew Aller is pretty good, chat. For whatever that's worth. Anyway.
See y'all next week.
We love you. And we will see. Oh, is it next week? Yeah. Unless we play a game tomorrow.
We'll keep you posted.
Okay. It'll probably be next week. Love you.